guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am meal prepping for my freezer. Today we are making single serving meals that can go from the freezer right to your slow cooker. All right, if you're new around here, I'm Claire. Welcome, come on in, make yourself comfortable. If you love a slow cooker, a crock pot, actually any small kitchen appliance, then this is your vibe. Make sure you hit subscribe and check out some of my other videos. I've got lots of good slow cooker recipes as well as rice cooker recipes, Instant Pot, air fryer, things like that. We like to keep it easy over here. Now, even though I am married and I have children, I find that I am cooking for one all the time. I'm pretty much on my own for lunch every day. And because my children have tons of extracurriculars and my husband travels for work, I'm often even eating for one in the evening as well. And I find that having things in the freezer, already portioned, already ready to go, is the best way to avoid running through a drive-through or making like a stupid expensive choice. So I try to keep as many options as I can in the freezer at all times. So today I'm making 3 recipes that are gonna go right in the freezer. I will say, the amount of time it's gonna take in your slow cooker is all going to depend on how thawed it is. You can put frozen food right in the slow cooker. I'm more partial to running it under hot water, loosening it up first. We are actually going to be using these freezer bags. They're not Ziploc brand, they're Boulder brand because I'm an Aldi girl, okay? They are quart size freezer bags. And what I like to do is I run it under hot water to loosen everything up. So it might not be like super thawed, but it's also not frozen solid. And I find that that works the best. We are going to be doing chicken and we're going to be doing some beef. The beef is going to take 7-8 hours in the crock pot. It's gonna take a long time. And if it's super frozen solid, it's gonna take even longer than that, so keep that in mind. As far as chicken goes, depending on the cut, if you want it to cook faster, you can dice the chicken before putting it in. That will make it go a little bit faster as well. But we're looking at 4, maybe 5 hours if it's super frozen on high for that. And I will leave the recipes and instructions down below, but I always want to throw that out first because someone always asks me like, oh, how long? And I'm like, oh, I should put it all at the beginning so you guys know how much time we're working with here. But when it comes to slow cooking, obviously it cooks slow, it takes a long time, but it's great because you don't really have to like fuss over it at all. You can just sit in the crock pot while you're doing other stuff. And with that, let's get started on the first recipe. We are making some peanut chicken. I love this. I make it in the crock pot all the time for the family usually, but I'm going to be making individuals today. And because when I make these videos, people always are like, we want to see what it looks like in the end. This recipe I'm actually also going to be making in my slow cooker as I make everything else as well. And I am going to eat one of those servings today. One of them is not going to end up in the freezer, but it's because I want you guys to see what it's like when it's done because it's really tasty. First, we have boneless, skinless thighs. Use whatever cut you have available to you. I prefer a thigh, so that's what I've got today. We're also going to be using coconut milk, peanut butter, sesame oil, honey, soy sauce, sriracha, and normally I chop up a pepper. I didn't have any peppers, but I did have this jar of peppers that really needed to be used. So I'm just gonna be using canned peppers, but a bell pepper would be ideal. This package of chicken is 1 3/4 pounds, but this recipe will work anywhere between 1.5 to 2 pounds of chicken. All right, we're gonna start with our coconut milk. I find that if you go to the international food section of your grocery store, and if you find the Goya brand or any other like Mexican or Latin American brands, they're often cheaper than the store brand. This was way cheaper than even the Meyer brand coconut milk. To this can, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of peanut butter. All right, now for our soy sauce. We're gonna do 2 tablespoons. We're also gonna do 1 tablespoon of sriracha. Now, if you don't like things that are spicy, just don't be scared of the sriracha. Sriracha isn't super duper hot if it's mixed with all these other things. And it really gives just a little bit of heat without it being overwhelming. You could also like make less than this. You could do 1/2 tablespoon or whatever. But that milk, the coconut milk really cools it down. It's not gonna be like fiery. Next, we're gonna do 2 teaspoons of sesame oil. And now I'm gonna do a tablespoon of honey. I always kind of eyeball honey because I hate how sticky it gets in my little spoon. Anyway, this is it. This is the sauce. So now we're gonna whisk this all together until it's smooth. All right, so for my meals, I'm gonna have 1 thigh. All right, we have just shy of 3 cups of sauce. So that means we'll need a little bit less than half a cup of sauce per thigh. All right, and I'm quickly just going to salt and pepper these. And then we're gonna put 1 thigh in. I also have my peppers. I'm just gonna stick a couple of those in each one. There we go. Throw our sauce in there. And there you have it. Like to push out all the air. And if you want a smart storage solution, when you freeze them, try to freeze them flat, and then you can stack them all on top of each other. So there we go. There is a peanut chicken for the future. All right, there we go. Now we're gonna do the last one in the slow cooker. And there we go. Okay, that only took a few minutes to put together. I've got 5 great meals for the freezer, and I've got my lunch for today. So I am putting this on high. It's gonna take about 4 hours, so make sure you stay tuned to the end of this video because I will be showing you when this comes out. We're gonna shred it up. I don't know, maybe I'll put it in you could put it in a tortilla, you could put it on some naan, you could put it over rice, or you could, you know, just eat it as is, or on a sandwich. I mean, possibilities are endless. We'll see what I'm in the mood for when the time comes. But moving on to our next recipe, we are doing our beef. All right, we are making mini pot roasts. I got this chuck roast from Aldi. It's pretty hefty. This is a nice size piece of meat. It was 14 bucks, which is kind of expensive, but when you see how many meals you make out of it, way cheaper than going to a restaurant. We're also going to be using some red potatoes. We got some baby carrots. We love the babies because they are already cut. We don't have to cut those. I am gonna be using a little bit of onion. And as far as seasoning goes, guys, Italian dressing packets. I don't know if you guys use these like packets for cooking. I love a ranch packet. I love a taco seasoning packet. And I love an Italian salad dressing and seasoning mix because it's also nice and salty. Like it's really well seasoned with a lot of different flavors. It's just a good blend. So we're going to be using this as our seasoning, and you could use water, but we're also using chicken broth. All right, the first thing I'm gonna do is cut up these potatoes. Actually, the first thing I'm gonna do is wash these potatoes. All right. And I'm just gonna cut these into bite-sized bits. I love a red potato. I think red potatoes might be my favorite kind. This is the kind we normally grow in the garden every year too. I'm just itching for the weather to get warmer so I can get out in the garden. All right, now I'm not a person that wants to remove the fat. If you are, you can totally do that. And these can be as big or as small as you want. That's probably good. That one's probably, honestly, a little bit big. I'm gonna cut that one up a little. Honestly, I'm just gonna take these little chunks off of each one, and one of our bags is gonna be more like a little stew, which will cook faster. Honestly, getting 5 meals out of a $14 piece of meat is a pretty darn good deal, okay? And now it is time to assemble. Start with our meat. Throw in a couple of onions. Throw in a couple of carrots. And you can adjust this ratio to your own taste. If you like more potatoes, if you don't like carrots, that's totally fine. I'm gonna line them all up like this first, and then we'll do the broth and the seasoning last. All right, we have our bags looking lovely. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add broth. You could freeze them like this and add the broth when you go to cook them. I just had this broth in my fridge that I really needed to use, so I thought, let's do it. And I'm doing half a cup in each one. Now I've got my Italian seasoning, and I'm gonna put 1 teaspoon in each bag. And there we go. Just gonna mix the powder in just a little bit. And there we go. A very tasty home-style cooking meal for when you just don't want to deal with it. All right, for our final freezer meal prep item, we are going to be making enchilada chicken. I have selected chicken breasts for this one, but guys, these are huge. Obviously, depending on your personal nutritional needs, you could use 1 whole chicken breast for each of the bags. I'm gonna cut these in half because a lot of times I'm eating other things on the side, and honestly, if I am making enchilada chicken in the crock pot, I'm going to be putting it in a tortilla when I take it out of the crock pot. So I want to make the serving to fit inside a tortilla. So I am going to be cutting these gigantic chicken breasts in half. There's 4 of them in here. So we are going to be making 8 bags out of this. I got the chicken at Aldi. For these 4, it was $11.18. Again, not a great price, but for 8 meals, it's pretty good. This is honestly the simplest recipe so far because you just need chicken, your favorite enchilada sauce. We're going with a red mild, black beans, and corn. That's literally it. That is a serious chicken breast right there. That's a lot of meat. All right, I'm just gonna salt and pepper these quickly. And I'm gonna go ahead and just start with them right in the bags. It's also nice that we're using beans because you can get away with a smaller portion of meat if you're adding protein through other means, such as legumes. Which is nice and cheaper. You can stretch your meat a lot farther if you add beans. All right, it is time to add our veg. I'm gonna do 1/4 cup of each in our bags. I'm gonna drain them first. All right, now it's time for our enchilada sauce. I'm gonna be doing about 1/3 cup in each one. You also have to remember that chicken breasts hold a lot of moisture. So once we get it going in the crock pot, there is definitely going to be enough liquid, don't worry. That is the enchilada chicken. Now, if this is not enough spice for you, throw a jalapeno in there. You don't like black beans? Use pinto beans, you know, or don't use beans at all. You don't have to follow this exactly. This is just how I like mine. The recipe, you know, won't really change that much if you add your own little flavors to it. You want some hot sauce in there? Throw a little squirt of Tabasco. That would be so good. Like, this is definitely open to interpretation, and you can add different veggies if you'd like. All right, so we've got all of our mini meals set to go. It is worth noting that we have touched a lot of raw meat today. And for me, one of the sort of rules, best practices of the kitchen is we wipe these down. You know, I've wiped my counters down, I've scrubbed my hands. When we're dealing with anything raw, we just like to do one of these, okay? We want everyone to stay safe. You guys, look at all of these meals. Are you kidding? I barely was doing this for half an hour. Like, this is definitely worth your time. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label them. I'm going to write what they are. I personally am not going to write the instructions of how to reheat because I made these myself. I'm going to eat them. But if you are making these for another person, maybe you're a parent trying to Make sure when your kid comes home from college, they leave with some healthy options. Maybe you're taking care of someone who's just had a baby, or maybe you have someone elderly in your family who could use just some easy help in the freezer. This is a great option. So if you need to write instructions, don't forget to. And now all of these meals can be headed right out to my deep freezer where I like to store this kind of stuff. And I have got so many meals for like at least the next month. Also write the date on them. That's important too. All right, you guys, it's been 3 hours and 35 minutes and my chicken is done. So now I'm gonna end this video by tasting my favorite peanut chicken and showing you what it looks like when it's all cooked. And I decided to make a little bit of rice to enjoy along with my chicken today. The chicken is nice and tender and it breaks right apart with my spoon. You see? Very tasty. And this is optional, but you know, if you follow me, you know, I love a bit of cilantro. So we're gonna top it with cilantro. And there we go. That was just the absolute perfect proportions for one delicious meal. Perfect. There is a reason that this is like one that's on my constant rotation in my house. All right, and there you go. Those were my freezer meal prep for one recipes that can go right in your slow cooker. I hope you got some inspiration out of this video. Maybe there's some recipes that are a little different from mine, but you can kind of see doing the same sort of process with. Be creative. You don't have to follow everything exactly that I do. Let this just inspire you to play around with things in the slow cooker and definitely throw some things in your freezer. So of course, comment, share, like, subscribe, all of the things that help us grow over here on our little corner of the internet. Thank you so much for watching. Come back for more and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.